My guest for the morning, Abraham Amaliba. Abraham Amaliba is a legal practitioner. He teaches students in law, and he's also a person who comes from one of the constituencies in the Upper East region, Bolga Central. Thanks for joining me, sir. He's a member of the NDC's legal team.
And he's seeking to be a member of parliament.
And he's seeking.
He's taking unfair advantage.
Okay.
I want to join.
In October, we have been told that the NDC is likely to open or announce October, for nominations to be open.
For the offense.
And whoever is interested will try.
Okay. Next year.
And I would want to ask him, are we going to have constituency divisions again for the next election? Maybe we'll try. Maybe they are thinking about that secretly, we never know. You know, the NDC, they don't like leaking tapes. So sometimes it's very difficult for us to know. But we have Emmanuel Chamantinge Jakon, and a very secretive person as well. Not heard any bad thing about him. A former chief executive of the FDA, but currently the member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency.
Re-elected to?
Yes, re-elected to become their candidate for that very constituency on behalf of the MPP. I hear that place when you offer Penoafa.
It's not true. I will win anyway.
You will win. All right. A lot of things happen in Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, Eduardo Ajao, warned ministers of state who refused to honor invitations to the House to answer questions that would deal with them if they do not discontinue the practice. And well, we've always been talking about separation of powers and how we need to prioritize each of the organs of government, etc. But especially when they are called and they don't tend to answer, is it deliberate or is not deliberate? Even if they have those, well, alibis, so to speak, to use and good reasons for not appearing, is that the way going about it, chastising them and trying to condemn the action, so to speak? I have to start with you. You're an MP. So we know that yesterday the Deputy Minister of Local Government and Rural Development was supposed to appear because his boss was not around, or the two of them actually were supposed to appear. None of them showed up.
Good morning to viewers, and thank you for inviting me onto your platform. I would most especially say good morning to my constituents, very dear to me. Yes, I was in the House yesterday. Indeed, I saw the mayor of Accra, and I needed to have a discussion with him about some demolitions that are going on in my constituency. So I was engaged with him for a little while when the majority chief whip came and said that the meeting they were supposed to come has been rescheduled. He has called the deputy minister to stop whatever he was doing to come. We were going to have what you call a committee of the whole. We were going to clear everybody and listen to them, because I think that there are a couple of issues that we want to be sure about. I heard that they were directed to go and come back at 12:30. Indeed, yesterday, Parliament broke sitting at 12, and we were told definitely that we will come back. Okay, I believe it was all in anticipation of the coming of the yeah. And if really and truly you make Parliament, all of us just sit and wait and you don't turn up, I think it is not too good. What irks me a little is that the minister and the two deputies are both members of Parliament. Okay. I find it difficult to believe that in a situation like this, the minister and his two deputies should not be in. There are several times, indeed, the questions are asked of the ministers. But when the ministers are not there, procedurally, leave is begged of Mr. Speaker to allow his deputies to answer the questions. Okay. And so, what really worries me is that if the minister is not there, he has 2 deputies. At the very least, one of them should have been there to answer. I mean, unless, of course, you are telling me that all of them are gone out of the jurisdiction, then I just begin to ask myself, how are these people doing the public administration? One of the reasons why you have deputies is that when you are not there, then they will deputize, they will stand in place for you. That is what a deputy is all about. So I could completely agree with the frustration of the Right Honourable Speaker that you made Parliament sit and wait for you. And this is not the first time. I think that on the first occasion, the excuse was that they had to do National Sanitation Day, so they had moved to a certain region. I think that the excuses are one too many. And you see, we must clearly understand that with the greatest due respect, government is not just about the executive. Government is not just about His Excellency the President. Government is about the judiciary. Can you imagine that a court calls you, a court sitting calls you, and you fail to turn up? The judge will hold you in contempt and put you in the cooler. Indeed, even a committee of parliament sitting has the powers of a high court. You understand? But how do you indict your own? And I think that over the last 3 years, this has gone on a little too much. Several times, ministers are supposed to come and answer questions, and they don't come, and their deputies don't come. My clear understanding is that the only reason why there are deputies is because the minister will not be there. Somebody must step in for him. Right. And let me emphasize that Parliament is an arm of government. We may have had some challenges. You see, I think why Parliament has some challenges is that over the periods, because of the military intervention, like the PNDC hiatus, like the NRC, like the yes, the military men, when they come, exercise their executive. What goes into abeyance is the legislature. Sometimes I think that because of this, people forget that Parliament is an equally important arm of government, and I think that we have chosen a democratic path, and people must begin to respect the institutions.
Abraham. Yes, Roland, good morning to you and then to my constituents in Bolgatanga Central. They watch this program very well, and I want to say good morning to them. But let me say that. You are starting before the whistle is blown. Let me say that.
Did you want to hear that one?
Let me say that what we are experiencing in Parliament, where MPs are up in arms against ministers for not appearing, has been a feature of our democratic process since we returned to the 4th Republican Constitution. I remember it was a problem under the Rawlings administration, and that was when ministers would not appear and ask their deputies to come. And I remember either J.H. Mensah took issue with that and said that no, it is a minister who must come and not a deputy. They juggle all this, and Parliament then came to relax the rules and said that if the minister cannot come, his deputy can come. So it has been a feature which is not pleasant, I must say. I think that on this score, I'll be on the side of Parliament. I hardly go on the side of Parliament. But this time, I think I'll be on the side of Parliament, because in order to build our democratic processes, the executive needs to understand that Parliament has an oversight responsibility. And that oversight responsibility is to hold the executive accountable. They are the representatives of the people. And so if you are invited to appear before Parliament and you do not appear, or you refuse to appear without any just reason, it shows you are undermining the democratic path that we have chosen. What makes this more serious is the fact that all the ministers, and the 3 of them, from the minister to the 2 deputy ministers, are also members of Parliament, and they should have been the first to want to obey the invitation of the Parliament. I think that it is right for Mr. Speaker to bear his teeth. I think that time has come for ministers of state to begin to understand that they are not separate from the executive, from the legislature. What they should know is that we are practicing what is called fusion of powers. We are not practicing a strict separation of powers, where the executive is there, judiciary is there, then legislature is there. There's fusion of powers. And so we need to respect each other's mandate. I think that the snubbing of Parliament on 3 occasions, if it were just once, you could understand, but on 3 occasions was not good enough. But I've just heard the Deputy Minister of Local Government, Neil Ante van der Poel, saying that he will honor the invitation today, and I think that would be a good thing to know.
Mr. Chairman Tejako, we have a feature for which we've adopted, taking, is it 2/3 of the ministers from Parliament?
50%.
Is it 50%?
A minimum of 50%.
Yeah.
A minimum of half of them.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, don't you think we put a certain dilemma in the minds of these ministers, sometimes who really are members of Parliament at some point? At what point also do you have to take critical decisions and say, well, a task I'm going to undertake is more important than the parliamentary task I've been asked to undertake?
I think that this is a matter that cannot be discussed within these few minutes that we have. Frankly, I don't know what was in the contemplation of the framers of the Constitution when they did that. They must have had good reason. But I think the classical case is that one would always want to separate the powers. It is a challenge in one way. The people think that there's some merit. I am not a political science theorist, but practically I see the challenge. I see the difficulty unfold every day. Probably if we are going to reform, if we are going to go through the process of constitutional reform again, I think that it is one of the things that must be looked at. Several things are said because of that. Sometimes, particularly if you're in the majority, you are careful about what you say because there is still the possibility that His Excellency the President will call you one day if you appear to always take a stand against the executive branch of government.
As far as in decision making, especially or policy.
Then you might not be penciled to go up. I think that we should look at that again. That is my considered view.
Okay,
Roland,
just a few days ago, we had the lawyer, luminary, the legal luminary, Samu Kujeto, saying that the president has too much powers, as an executive president, head, so to speak. And as a result of that, because many of the decisions emanate from the executives, it becomes difficult for perhaps the interests of the other sections of the organs of government to be also to be promoted, so to speak.
Yeah, but in this case, it does not involve the president. But
of course,
in this case, I can understand where your question is coming from. Because of the nature of our governance system, where we are told that 50% or more should come from Parliament as ministers of state, you find that there are ministers who are also members of Parliament, and they play a dual role. So it becomes difficult for, say, ministers who are also members of Parliament to give full attention to one side of the equation, be it the executive arm that they belong to, or be it the legislative arm. You notice that in this case, the MPs who are also ministers were out in the field. The first excuse they gave was that they were out in the field. Apparently, the National Sanitation Day. One would have thought that they would have the arrangement where out of the 3 of them, there's one who could have appeared in Parliament. But I understand your question from the fact that there's practical difficulties where you are practicing this kind of hybrid system. You have a minister who is at the same time a member of Parliament. How does he juggle the two? That apparently poses a challenge. The Constitution Review Commission proposed that if need be, the president should be given a free hand to appoint his ministers out of Parliament and not to tie him to this 50%. I'm sure if that is done, we'll have a situation where most of our ministers coming will not be, as it were, members of Parliament. But the way it is now, you have ministers who also double as members of Parliament, and that creates some challenges to those persons because they can't be at two places at the same time. Yeah.
You see, Abraham has been very mild with this one, and
he's very charitable. You say.
Yeah, very charitable.
Why?
And speaks of juggling their time. I think fundamental to this is essentially the role of the legislature is to oversight government. How can you sit in the oversight chamber and oversight yourself? I think there's something amiss, and we must begin to. Like I said, I'm not a political.
If let's say your party was in government,
yeah,
and so you formed the presidency and things like that, the executive,
the executive,
and you were given a position, what sort of decision would you have taken if you find yourself?
It is the law now, but I think what we are doing here is beginning to look at the merits, whether it is right or it is wrong. Is it helpful? Particularly for me, particularly for the development of the legislature, I think that it is an encumbrance and it must be removed. Particularly for the development of the legislature. If I don't want to rub the feelings of my I was going to say that, but it's not going to happen, so it's not a very good excuse. But I was going to use him and say, if he comes to Parliament one day, maybe 20 years from now, and this constitution persists, and he's going to be appointed Attorney General or something. You asked me, so I am also transferring it to him. I think it's a challenge. We may not be the best. This may not be the best platform to discuss it. I think it can go on.
Yeah.
I think that for me, we must choose a career. If you want to build a career in the legislature, go ahead and do it. If you want to be in the executive,
go ahead and do it.
So if we are able to do that, that would solve.
For example, you go to the US, you have senators and things. They've been there for 40 years. The point is, we have other precipitating or other factors that also militate against people trying to make the choice to become career politicians. Things influenced by how you get elected, and we know we have to go through some level of is it Congress or the elections that we hold
primaries
and that level of college or the constituency that tend to elect you, and the influences and the biases and things like that. So it makes it difficult for somebody to be content and be given the security that really I would want to continue for the next 20 years to become a member of Parliament. But
well, there are a few examples of people who have stayed in Parliament from day one. There are a few examples, a few, very few. But I think that in the development, that is why I think that we must take away all of these encumbrances. Another thing that I really think militates against the development is the fact that everything revolves around the executive. Everybody thinks that, well, if you are, and really that is what it is. In the executive arm of government, you are giving a 4-wheel drive, you are giving a salon car, you have free petrol, you have this, you have this, you have this.
The salary may not be big, but the
salary is, I think it's as if it is not better than in the legislature.
Well, it is better, but it's.
You understand me? On the other hand, when you are a member of Parliament, the car that you drive is a loan you have taken, and every month they take such a huge chunk of your salary to repay the loan.
Right.
I think it is only natural for human beings to look for that which is good. My considered view is that we must begin to find a certain parity. Okay, we must begin to find a certain parity, so that whether you are a minister of state or you are a member of parliament or you are a certain level of a judge of the superior courts, it really does not matter. To the extent that that disparity is there, somebody comes into parliament, but like he's saying, he thinks that he'll be better off if he's in the executive.
So choose where you want to go to.
Yeah, so but people must make a choice. But something that will motivate all of us to make a good choice is that if we begin to find a certain parity, I think it is important.